The air inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Concord shimmered with static tension. 72 species were in attendance, an audience of diplomats, tacticians, merchants, and silent watchers. The high spires of Galantris 4 pierced the violet sky, casting long shadows into the metallic council chamber. From orbit, the planet looked like a dead moon. Here on the surface, it was cold, wind-scoured, and dry, a perfect place for bloodless diplomacy and, occasionally, blood. A guttural voice shattered the quiet. "Humans!" General Zargul sneered, the name rolling off his tongue like a curse. "You speak of peace, but hide behind treaties. Your species refuses challenge, refuses combat, refuses honor." He rose to his full height, nearly 3 meters of muscle, plated in obsidian-colored armor etched with kill tallies. 4 arms rested on the pommels of twin ritual blades, polished with centuries of blood. His eyes, golden and slitted, scanned the delegates until they landed on the human envoy seated beneath the UTA crest. "We of the Zarthan Empire invoke right Zaltor," Zargul declared. "Duel by champion. Your cowardice ends today." The room didn't erupt, it cracked. Whispers flooded the air in dozens of tongues. Right Zaltor hadn't been invoked in nearly 200 years. The last time it had, a species no longer existed. Ambassador Greaves stood slowly, adjusting the dark band of Earth's diplomatic uniform at his collar. His voice was calm, too calm. "Right Zaltor acknowledged. Earth accepts." Zargul's teeth gleamed. "Send a fleet, send a battalion. Choose your finest war hero. Or do you concede your weakness and give up your place among us?" Greaves didn't blink. "We will send one." The chamber hushed. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. "One?" Zargul laughed, the sound echoing off the vaulted ceiling. "You mock this right with a single soldier?" "We mock nothing," Greaves said. "We accept with full weight." In a forgotten outpost orbiting Neptune, the silence wasn't ceremonial, it was survival. Rhea Salas moved like breath through steel hallways. The flicker of harsh white lights followed her as she walked, alone, toward the mission briefing chamber. The message she'd received 20 minutes ago had only 3 words. Galantris. Solo. Approved. She entered the room. No one else waited. A holographic form of Admiral Sato greeted her. "Commander Salas," he said, folding his arms behind his back. "As of now, you represent Earth in a galactic right duel. You'll be alone. No weapons allowed, except what you find. Standard rules apply. Broadcast to all member species." Rhea nodded once. "You're permitted to decline." She shook her head. Sato paused. "They're sending General Zargul. He destroyed an entire fleet during the Krell incursion. I've read his file. And you still accept?" She met his gaze, unmoving. "Is there a choice?" There wasn't. Galantris 4 greeted her with wind like razors. Rhea stood alone on the cracked earth, her black adaptive suit already coated in ash. Overhead, orbiting observation platforms blinked with red status lights. Alien delegates floated in from across the sector in silent crafts, hovering just above the scarred terrain. A whistle blew in the distance, a ceremonial sound from a high judge. It marked the beginning of pre-combat assembly. Across the wide expanse, the Zarthan warband arrived with thunder. Their armored boots smashed stone as they marched in formation. Chanting, singing, roaring. Symbols painted across their armor told of victories carved into history. Zargul emerged at the center, shoulders draped with the flayed hide of a slain Kravox. He didn't just step onto the dueling grounds, he claimed it. His ceremonial blade was already on his back. His secondary arms carried twin Fang spears. When he saw Rhea standing alone, motionless, his smirk spread like oil. "No armor? No weapons? This is insult." Rhea remained still. Zargul stomped forward, stopping 3 paces from her. He looked her up and down as if she were an animal poorly fit for slaughter. "I will enjoy breaking you." Her voice was steady, cold. "You won't get the chance." The judge floated down between them, voice booming in all directions. "Both champions understand the terms. Combat begins at signal. No external aid. Weapons may be scavenged. Fight ends at death or surrender. Zarghul cracked his neck, lowering his spear. Surrender is weakness. Rhea didn't reply. She was already scanning the terrain: canyons to the left, crystal ridges to the south, unstable rock beneath the judge's hover pad. She filed it all away. The judge's hand raised. A small sphere floated upward, blinking. 3 lights. 2. 1. A sharp tone sliced the air. The right of Zaltor began. Zarghul lunged. A blur of weight and fury. The ground cracked beneath each footfall. He closed the distance in seconds, dual spears aimed to impale. Rhea didn't run. She slid to the right, low, graceful, one hand tapping the dust as she pivoted. His spears split air where her head had been. She used the momentum to launch backward, disappearing behind an outcrop. He skidded, turned, roared. Where? Silence. He twisted, sniffing the wind. Nothing. On the ridge above him, Rhea moved like shadow. She hadn't brought weapons, but she didn't need to. The terrain was full of forgotten debris. War had touched Galantris before. A half-buried skeleton caught her attention, its rusted armor half consumed by black lichen. Something gleamed in the remains, a shard of resonance glass, sharp as monosteel. She slid it free, careful not to snap it. Primitive. Fragile. But usable. Below, Zarghul stomped through a narrow ravine, bellowing with frustration. You hide? Prove you're not coward! Face me! He was baiting her. She knew better. Up on the ridge, Rhea knelt, watching the flow of dust kicked up by his feet. He was moving slower than before, careful. He knew the terrain was alien. He feared traps. Good. Let him fear. She studied his movements, tracked his weight shifts, noted the angle of his stride. Calculated velocity, reach, reaction time. He was brute force. She was applied violence. In the canyon mouth, he paused. His breathing was louder now. He scanned the cliffs. Rhea crouched behind jagged stone, expression unreadable. Her grip on the resonance shard was firm. Blood trickled down her palm unnoticed. The galaxy thought humans were weak because they didn't posture. Let them keep thinking it. She moved silently along the ridge, the duel just beginning. Zarghul stalked the canyon like a predator, heavy footfalls sending cracks through brittle stone. Above him, the sun dipped low behind jagged ridgelines, casting sharp shadows that danced like phantoms. His head turned side to side, sniffing the air, snarling when it offered nothing. Coward! He growled under his breath. He slowed his pace. She wasn't running, he'd have heard that. No screams, no panicked footsteps. Only silence. That unsettled him. Zarthan warriors thrived on noise, battle cries, the clashing of steel, the song of death. But this one gave nothing. High above, nestled between 2 splintered slabs of obsidian, Rhea lay flat. She studied his movement through a fragment of visor glass she'd scavenged from a long-dead drone, using it to reduce her silhouette's visibility. Every shift of his muscles, every twitch of his lower arms, she watched. He was fast, yes, and incredibly strong, but predictable. He swung wide, exposed his flank with each forward thrust. And he didn't look up often. She marked the distance to the ledge below, 3 meters down, loose footing. Risky. But she wouldn't get a better opportunity. Her fingers tightened around the resonance shard. Time to test him. She dropped. Stone exploded beneath her boots as she landed. Zarghul spun, snarling, raising his spear too slow. She was already inside his reach. The shard flashed once, carving a shallow line along his outer thigh before she ducked under his return swing and rolled clear. He shouted after her, voice booming through the canyon. Good! Fight back! She vanished into the rocks again, leaving only dust in her wake. On the observation platforms floating above the battlefield, alien spectators murmured. She wounded him, a Glyvon elder whispered, clicking her mandibles in disbelief. But she retreated, a Drexite diplomat muttered. Or repositioned, another corrected. Watch closely. Rhea didn't run because she feared him. She ran because a moving target was harder to hit and harder to understand. She crouched inside a hollow tree trunk, panting softly. The cut she'd inflicted on his leg wasn't deep, but it would slow him, and pain did more than bleed, it distracted. She examined her hand. The shard had sliced her own palm during the strike. She wrapped it quickly with cloth torn from her suit's inner lining, tightening until the pain dulled. Then she moved again, sticking to shadow and incline, keeping above him. Zargul stormed through the lower valley now, blood trickling from his wound, fury mounting. He'd fought war beasts on Vornak Prime, hunted plaguehounds blindfolded, but never had prey slip through his hands so easily. He shouted again. Enough tricks, human! Come die with dignity! No answer. Just the wind and shifting grit underfoot. Then ping! A sharp sound echoed from the ridge above. He turned just in time to see a jagged rock hurtling down. Reflexes took over. He raised both arms, blocked the impact, and stumbled. From behind, a smaller stone struck his head. Not hard. Not fatal. But deliberate. He looked up. Rhea stood 20 meters above him, framed by the light. You talk too much, she said. She moved before he could roar, diving off the ridge. He gave chase. The terrain narrowed into a ravine with walls steep and jagged. Rhea weaved between rocks, boots skimming loose gravel. Zargul thundered behind her, each step closing the gap. He was faster downhill, and she'd expected that. She didn't need to outrun him, just lead him. At the base of the slope, she twisted through a split in the earth. Zargul slammed through after her, scraping his side on the narrow entry. The passage opened into a wide basin surrounded by crystal outcrops. Faint pulses of light blinked from their cores, unstable energy, remnants from ancient weapons testing centuries ago. Dangerous. Unpredictable. Perfect. She sprinted across the field, her boots careful to avoid the violet crystals. Zargul followed without caution, snapping smaller spires underfoot. A crackle snapped in the air, one of the crystals destabilized. Rhea reached the far side, ducked behind a ridge, and waited. Zargul didn't slow. The moment his foot shattered a pulsing node, the field screamed. A concussive wave erupted, launching him backward. He crashed against the stone, his armor scorched along the back. He groaned, dazed. Rhea moved fast. She vaulted the ridge, drove the shard toward his chest. He twisted just in time. Her weapon glanced off a shoulder plate. His arm lashed out, fist connecting with her ribs. The world shifted. Her breath caught. Pain shot through her side. She stumbled back, gasping. He rose, looming. You bleed, he said. She steadied herself, keeping weight off her left leg. So do you. His laugh was short, broken by a cough. You're no warrior. You're a ghost. I'm enough. He swung. She dodged. They fought like opposites, he, a hammer swinging wildly, she, a needle weaving between his reach. Blow after blow missed its mark, but each that landed made her slower. She dove, rolled under a spear thrust, and landed beside a ruined mech husk. Inside, a hollowed-out core still glowed faint blue. Quick thinking. She grabbed a length of fractured coil cable, tore it free. Sparks leapt from the broken ends. As he charged again, she wrapped the coil around one of the violet crystals and ducked low. He stepped too close. The feedback loop triggered. An electric pulse surged from the coil into the crystal, which exploded in a shockwave of force and light. Zargul was thrown clear. Rhea crawled from the blast radius, ears ringing, vision blurred. Above, the alien crowd leaned forward. No one cheered. No one blinked. What is she? Someone whispered. The Zarthan dignitaries said nothing. She limped to the canyon's edge and collapsed against a stone pillar. Her side was numb. One rib, maybe two, fractured. The shard had snapped in half during the last exchange. She had nothing left but her fists, a length of coil, and her will. But Zargul wasn't dead. From the smoking crater he stirred. Blood poured from his mouth, one leg twisted unnaturally. Yet still, he rose, dragging himself to one knee, then 2 feet, breathing in shallow growls. You die slow, he spat. So do you, she replied. Then she passed out. A sharp breath pulled Rhea Solace back from the dark. The air was thin. Cold. The wind howled through broken canyons like a morning cry. Her side throbbed, deep, sharp. Something inside was cracked, maybe punctured. She tasted iron. She didn't remember falling, only that everything had gone quiet. Her left eye opened first. The sun had shifted. The battlefield glowed red now, burnt orange rays casting long shadows across the crater. Her hand instinctively went to her waist, but there was no weapon. The shard was gone, vaporized in the last blast. Her makeshift coil lay tangled beside her, burned out and lifeless. She forced herself upright, every breath stabbing through her ribs. Dirt clung to her face. Her fingers trembled. She wiped blood from her lip, then squinted across the field. Movement. From the far edge of the debris field, General Zargul rose. His armor was torn. One leg dragged behind him, useless. 2 of his arms hung limp, and one shoulder oozed thick, dark blood. His face, half of it blackened, one eye swollen shut, still held a twisted grin. You should have stayed down, he rasped. So should you, Rhea muttered. He stumbled forward, dragging a fractured spear behind him. It scraped across stone, each step a tremor. Rhea stood barely. Her body screamed, but her mind was steady. This was the end. No tricks left. No terrain to use. Just them. He stopped a few meters away, swaying slightly. Your kind hides behind machines. Behind numbers. Behind peace. His voice was wet now, gurgled. But today, you had to stand alone. And look what it's cost you. She wiped dust from her brow, eyes locked on him. You're still talking. That made him growl. He surged forward, spear raised. Rhea stepped in, not back. She grabbed the haft of the spear with both hands as he thrust. The tip grazed her shoulder, splitting flesh. She twisted, redirecting the force. His grip faltered. She elbowed his neck. Once. Twice. He dropped the weapon. He swung with his right arm. She ducked. Her fist slammed into his ribs, twice, fast, low. She felt something give under her knuckles. He roared, grabbed her throat with his remaining hand, and lifted her. She kicked out, caught his knee. He stumbled. They collapsed together in a heap of blood and breath. She rolled away, coughing hard. The edges of her vision flickered. Zargul crawled toward her, dragging himself through the ash. You are nothing, he spat. Rhea forced herself to her knees. Her limbs trembled. Her lungs burned. I'm enough. He lunged again, slow, desperate. She sidestepped. Pivoted behind him. Arms around his throat. He thrashed. Slammed his elbow into her ribs. Pain exploded through her side. She didn't let go. Instead, she shifted her weight, dropped to one knee, and pulled. The technique was old. Human. The sound of his neck snapping was sharp and final. He slumped. Twitched. Stopped. Above, in the floating citadel of the Galactic Council, silence reigned. 72 species had watched every second of the broadcast. Billions more tuned in across the stars. For the first time in generations, the Zarthan general lay dead, not on a battlefield, not amid fleets, but by a single human hand. A Kalari diplomat exhaled. They sent one. And one was enough, said another. No cheers. No celebration. Only awe. On the surface, Rhea stood over the broken body. Her breathing ragged, her limbs shaking, she turned toward the nearest camera drone. She said nothing. Did nothing. Just stared. A storm moved across the horizon. Thunder echoed behind distant peaks. She turned and walked, limping, bleeding, but upright. 10 minutes later, a dropship descended, silent and low. Its hatch hissed open. She boarded without a word. Hours later, in a war room beneath Earth's atmosphere, the footage played on loop. Council hasn't said a word since it ended, Admiral Sato said. No formal acknowledgement. But 35 systems have already opened new trade agreements. Greaves nodded. Fear motivates faster than friendship. A young officer leaned forward. Is she, all right? Sato didn't answer immediately. Alive. Back on Galantris, Zarthan warriors retrieved their fallen commander in silence. There were no war cries. No vengeance oaths. Just shame. His death hadn't just defeated him, it cracked the image of Zarthan's supremacy. No grand battle. No epic clash. Just a single soldier, silent, tactical, relentless. In a medical bay orbiting Mars, Rhea sat alone, wrapped in bandages, staring at her reflection. A line of stitches ran from her cheek to her jaw. Her ribs were mended with surgical mesh. Her arm in a sling. A medic approached. We can give you something for the pain. She shook her head. The medic paused. Would you do it again? She didn't answer. He hesitated. Then left. She stared into the mirror for a long time. On a training world far from the war rooms and politics, a group of young recruits watched the duel on a holoscreen. One of them, barely 20, turned to his instructor. She didn't look like a hero. The instructor nodded. She isn't. Then what is she? The instructor looked at the paused image, Rhea, standing over Zargul, bloodied but unbowed. She's human.